All right, Adam. Thank you for joining me.
No problem, T. Thank you for having me.
It's great to finally meet you.
Do I say T, Tia?
T. People call me T. It's great if you call me T because my name is Tiera. People have been calling me Tia for years, but T is like, we're good.
All right.
We might as well be friends
Tiera,
by now.
T. All right, I like it.
I like your hat because I'm a big fan of Billionaire Boys Club.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I'm trying to strive to be. So
Hello.
I feel like Pharrell is the perfect example of what to attain. So
Exactly.
And Blackstone be
It just goes with
baby
the
is black
bass.
Yeah, all of that. Lots of B's.
Right. It's crazy that you bring him up because that was my first thing that I when I met you, or I'm sorry, before I met you, when I discovered who you were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Neptune's NERD Pharrell fan. I got the brain tattooed on my ankle type.
Nice,
crazy fan, right? And when I discovered who they were, it was because of Pharrell's presence in everybody's music that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah.
So it was me looking at like Babyface, There She Goes. So I'm 32.
Okay.
Back when I discovered Pharrell, I was 11.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I was a big fan of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC at the same time. So
Yeah.
I just kept seeing him pop up in areas and
Like,
Jay-Z.
would you be
and
my girlfriend?
yeah, exactly. The remix. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Somebody put something different, but I didn't even know what a producer was at the time.
Okay.
So when I would see him pop up on all these videos, I'm like, let me look up, see who he is. And I realized he was a producer. So he made me want to be a producer at the time.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
So same thing with you though.
Oh, wow.
I started seeing shows and I'm like, yo, my biggest thing is just good sound. Amazing transitions, amazing changes, all of that. So when a live show sounds better than a record, I'm like, who is that? So I'm like, well, I'm a huge fan of the bass as well. So that's my favorite instrument.
Awesome.
I haven't learned yet, but that's my goal. I have a bass amp and no bass yet. So that's
All
what
right,
I'm
so
working on.
we got to figure that out. We got to get you right.
I've got to. So I just noticed, I'm like, man, this band is killing. The bass player is going in. Who is the bass player? And so I looked you up, and I was like, oh, it's Adam. And then I realized you were MDing the entire show.
Yeah.
So not only are you playing the bass, but you just put together this whole show that's going crazy, and I just started to see a pattern. And the 2020 experience, it was on Netflix. So I was like, that's it. I got to meet this guy. So that was a while ago, but I'm like, every time your name pops up, I'm telling people like, yo, if you don't know who Adam Blackstone is, like, you're tripping. So for you, just in case people don't know, if you don't mind, just letting people know who you are and exactly what you do.
Yeah, well, my name is Adam Blackstone, and most people know me as a musical director, bass player, live music producer. Worked with everybody from the Roots to Jill Scott to Kanye West to Janet Jackson, Rihanna, Drake, Justin Timberlake, Alicia Keys, amongst a host of others. So I'm very, very blessed to do what I do. A lot of people ask me, what a musical director is or what they do. And basically, the short form answer is I am in charge of everything that has to do with the artist's stage and live performance, anything music oriented. And for me, that's transitioned into film and television as well, which we talked about the shows and stuff. And it's made me super duper accessible to a lot of different artists, maybe some artists that may not know who I am. I just worked with Lil Baby and DaBaby and stuff like that, and they haven't had the opportunity to tour even for like this pandemic, but I'm able to do shows like Grammys and BET Awards and stuff like that and link up and show them a different level of live music production. So I'm very blessed, man. I love what I do. It's tedious at times. We're in Atlanta right now. I'm here for All-Star and, doing the All-Star game as musical director. So a lot of those even tasks have less to do with actual playing and music and more to do with the logistics and all of that. So being an MD for me has transitioned into production and producer. So, I'm trying to take the realms of everything. So
yeah, and that's another thing I was going to ask you. When it comes to being a musical director, I've heard you say that you still deal with, like you said, you deal with people that are doing lighting, the dancers.
For sure.
So what separates you from the production manager? of the show, or putting together the whole production?
That's a good question, but I mean, the production manager books the studio, and they make sure our gear is there, and they make sure time and aesthetics are there. I don't do that. The production manager tells me sometimes, or we collab on when to show up, and I let them know, hey, we need this much time for the dance rehearsal, or we need this much time for choreography or music or band, and we collaborate. I would say the production manager is super duper pre-game, pre-stage logistics, and I'm more like, once we're in the game and on stage, I handle everything after that.
Right. So how do you deal with, so when you're a musical director, you said you have to create charts, right?
A lot of times I have been creating charts specifically for television as well, because it's moving so fast.
Right.
A lot of young musicians are I don't want to say afraid, but haven't learned to read music. And what I try to super duper drill home is that reading music has helped me, because it's a roadmap. It basically tells me what I'm about to do and what I'm about to play. So if I have 17 songs to learn in a couple of days, the chart is the roadmap. The chart is essentially the musical cheat sheet, but it's not a cheat. It's like, it's the official way to, pretty much engulf yourself in what you learned and what you did, and then write down specifically what it is. So I do write a lot of charts for television specifically, because the segments are moving so fast. There could be a commercial, there may not be a commercial. We're playing 10-song medley for Brandy or Justin Timberlake or whoever that may be, and it's like, I have to make sure that 10-song medley is cool, and I also have to make sure the gospel segment is cool, and I also have to make sure the country segment is cool. You know what I mean? So it's like the charts for sure help me.
So how do you mentally deal with making sure that everybody else is doing their job, but then also remembering your bass lines and your keys, and I don't know what else do you play other than the keys and
I
bass?
Started off playing drums at church.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
I was going to ask that too.
My father is a church organist and church keyboard player, pianist. I was playing drums with him. We didn't really even grow up with a bass player at my church. Really? Because we had a little, down home church or whatever in Jersey. But I would have to say, man, one of the biggest parts about me and why I do things so well is my team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I have designated people to do a lot of different things. I have a couple people who write the charts for me once I arrange it. Yeah. So I send them the sketch, and they'll chart it out, and they'll basically what we call do a takedown of everything that I've done in the computer or programmed or whatever. And so now I kind of don't have to remember it, because they wrote it out. You know what I'm saying, based off of what I did.
Well, it's good that you can disperse your brain amongst a team.
And then I've learned in my older age. You say you're 32, I'm 39, so I'm getting up there. But in my older age, specifically the last 5 to 6 years, I've been able to designate things, and because I'm dealing with so much other information than music, I have been able to designate a lot of the music tasks and oversee them while I go to the dance rehearsal, or while I go to the lighting designer, or while I go to the creative meeting with the artist. You know what I mean? So it's definitely about team for me. I'm only as good as my team. I feel like I'm great, and I feel like my team is great. I feel like they the best. Absolutely. Been working with a lot of different programmers and musicians, but we have a synergy. We have a sound. I have a sound that I feel is kind of permeated, music a little bit. You definitely have a sound. You do have that. I feel like I demand a lot from my team, because I want to be great always, and they hold me accountable as well. You know what I mean? I think that's the good thing about a great team, is that we hold each other up. There's plenty of times, my partner, Omar Edwards or Justin Gilbert, they'll correct me when I'm playing something wrong, because they may know the song better than me or whatever, and it's like it feels good to have that accountability from someone that you admire and you trust on your team, because we all want to win. You know what I mean? I get the credit a lot, but I don't mind giving the credit out either, because when something's wrong, I get blamed too. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So make sure everybody's playing a part. Everybody is definitely playing their part, and my team is great. There's so many people that I can thank for that.
Yeah. Have you ever started or thought about starting a band yourself to actually perform?
So I have a group, my band, the Origin Band.
Okay.
We are a group of brothers from Philadelphia area who, we love God. We grew up in church. We've been out playing with everybody from Pharrell to Neo to Eminem to whoever. My bass player's out with Beck right now.
Oh, dope.
The keyboard player's out with J. Cole.
Yeah.
I just got done working with a bunch of different shows, and so we come together, man. We make great music. The Origin Band. We have a single coming out real soon. And it's just inspirational, feel good music. We never forget the origin of where we came from, which is rooted in God and rooted in Christ and rooted in the church. But we were able to just kind of infiltrate the music business with our feel good spirit and
Absolutely.
just being humble and being men of integrity. And it feels good to come together because we've made everybody else hot.
Right.
And,
so I'm like, why don't you start
I
something,
definitely, we're praying that we get to make ourselves hot as the artist. And it's a whole different ballgame as the artist,
It is.
But that's my squad. That's my band, album out this year for sure.
Awesome.
And it feels good. Everybody go check that out, the Origin Band.
The Origin Band. I'm looking out for that.
Yeah.
So I noticed a lot of my favorite musicians started in church.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you didn't necessarily pick up the bass at first.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you learn how to play bass?
It's a couple different.
Because you don't just know
it's
how to
a couple
play.
different
You
stories
play.
that I remember that I can fake remember.
Yeah.
One story that I tell often is second grade. I was playing drums at school in the school band, and my white band teacher knew my family, and he knew my musical family upbringing or whatever.
Right.
He said, "Listen, we got a vacancy on bass guitar. I want you to try to move to bass because, there's too many drummers." And basically, what he was trying to say is, all the black boys want to play drums. Because I want to play drums too.
But the bass is still kind of the rhythm, like you get.
But I didn't know that then, and I was like, I don't want to play the bass. The bass is corny and it's too big. At that time, you don't know about this. See, we used to walk to school. So
you know what? I walked to high school. It was at the end of the street, but
oh no, we used to walk 1.2 miles to school back in the day. So it was like I carry my instrument, which at that time was my drumsticks. Mm-hmm. And so when they moved the bass, that's the first thing I thought about. I want to carry this thing home. Then my godfather, Kenneth Cradle, he was a bass player and played with my dad a lot.
Okay.
I never really realized how rhythmic the bass was, like you said. So exactly. I was more like a rhythmic guy and wanted to play drums and stuff. But when I finally got into it, it was like, okay, I can do this. And then one of the other things that sold me was I felt like I could play songs that I heard on the radio, or that I heard my dad play, or that I heard in Top 40, or that I heard in church or whatever, and people could know what it was because I had melody as well. And playing the drums, you couldn't always do that. So I remember one of my first songs was like My Girl,
Okay.
And and it's like everybody knows what that song is, and I remember playing like to the hip hop, the hip, so it felt good to be like, yo, I'm playing. Then I'm jamming, get to high school, play a little, Destiny's Child, or play a little TLC, Waterfalls. I remember playing that, and that kind of like, all right, I was like, okay, I'm cool with this, and moving into high school, I went to Willingboro High School, phenomenal band program and affluent black community as well.
That's in Philly?
It's in New Jersey, South Jersey. And the senior bass player there when I was a freshman was Derek Hodge.
Okay.
And the junior bass player there was Thaddeus Tribbett. And then the sophomore bass player there was my boy Dwayne Moore. So it was like I still couldn't even really get in because these guys, who are still my very, very great friends today, they had it sewn up and on lock. You know what I'm saying? And rightfully so, because I still look up to Derek, and I still look up to Thad and Wayne as well. They killing it on the bass, and they have been killing it for a long time, but we all went to the same high school. So I remember going to see Derek Hodge when I was in 8th grade. He was in 11th grade. And I was like, I never heard nobody play like that before, and it was very inspiring. It showed me, honestly, if I can be transparent, it showed me that a bass player could be a leader.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And be in front of a band. He was in front of the high school jazz band, like being the featured person.
Right.
I was like, wow, like this is cool. And then I got into like Victor Wooten and John Petitucci and Jaco Pastorius on the jazz scene, and those albums. I love Ron Carter playing upright and Mingus. And a lot of that came from me watching Derek. You know what I mean? Just that one time. I'll never forget. He played it was like Cherokee, a jazz song called Cherokee, and Caravan.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that. I was in the 8th grade. And so, and I think that I always knew I would do something in music. I didn't know if I would teach music or I was into video games. So I was like, maybe music for video games.
Right.
Stuff like that. But like kind of transitioning to like high school bass and college bass, I was like, all right, I can do this for a living. My parents were very encouraging. Because my dad was a full-time musician and kind of hustling, so I always had their support, so it was cool.
Well, that's good that you had the encouragement, because a lot of people, it's just having to drill into your parents, because my parents are a little bit older, so they appreciate it. My mom is really into music. My dad, you couldn't even ask him what his favorite song is, but he's a sweet person. But I played violin, so you were in band, right?
Oh, absolutely. Band played a huge role in my life and still does. That's how I'm able to write the charts.
Right. So I was in orchestra, so people were playing upright.
Yeah.
So
I was in orchestra
too. You did both?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You could do both?
Yeah, upright was
I could see you doing both, but I didn't know I had the option to do both.
So my first gig, oh, you mean you could do both band and orchestra?
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know how. I didn't think about it. I don't know how that happened, but my days,
like, yo, he's kind of dope.
My days was long. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
I would have band at 3rd period, and like orchestra like 9th period or something. So it was like crazy.
They probably linked up and said like, let's just let him rock. So can you play upright?
Yeah. So my first gig with Pharrell was on upright. We played "Can I Have It Like That." That was my first ever Pharrell gig. David Letterman, "Can I Have It Like That?" And I'm like, boom, 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 boom.
He's from where I'm from. Well, David is, because I'm from Indianapolis.
Oh, okay.
So I went to Ball State in Indiana, so he had like the whole Letterman building and everything. So David Letterman's a big. I'm from Indiana.
That's dope.
But I was actually I looked up something the other day, and I looked up your name, and the first thing that came up was Pharrell and the Yes Sirs.
Yes.
For "Take It Off."
Take it off.
My favorite song off that whole album, right? And the first person I see is you playing bass, and I'm like, yo, when did Adam play the bass line to "Take It Off"? So then I found the record, and I'm like, how did I miss this?
Yeah,
I totally missed it.
That was a big moment for me, and working with my mentors, Questlove and James Poyser, and Pharrell, of course. And I remember Amir was like, yo, I'm gonna do a live version to "In My Mind," and I was like, sure you are.
Right.
Because Quest just has these, amazing ideas that just, he either does and sometimes they don't come out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's doing it just because of his passion and love. But it happened, and I remember, we did that record and like Al Green at like around the same time.
Oh, wow.
Lay It Down. And it was just good vibes, man. It was really good vibes,
I love Questlove. I listened to his podcast too. And similar to what you were saying, he was talking about one time, well, basically when he was in school, Boyz II Men went to the same school, and so did Wanye.
Yeah, Kaplan.
Yeah, so it's like, it has to be, and I went to Pharrell's Something in the Water Festival. Do you feel like it just at that time, you guys were just blessed to be in there? Yeah, it had to be.
I know for me in Willingboro, New Jersey, when I was in high school, 96 through 2000, that's all I knew. I just knew we was black and we was great.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really realize, this is a little bit embarrassing, and my wife laughs at me. It's like, I didn't know that I was the minority in the world until I went to college.
Same here.
Yeah.
Actually,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like in my own little bubble of greatness. It wasn't a bubble of ignorance. It wasn't a bubble of racism. It wasn't a bubble of mediocrity. It was like, these black people around me are all the best. Right. Doctors, lawyers, you know, politicians, musicians, you know, teachers, whatever. And so when I went to college, and, you know, to be honest, you know, music is like a sport in college.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether like band specifically. Absolutely. And so as you may or may not know, when you get to college, the freshman is like looked down upon if you playing ball or whatever. And I was like, y'all not gonna look down on me because I just left Willingboro High School with Derek Hodge.
Right.
Like, I'm way better than y'all. I just left them.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They 10 times better than y'all. So I know. Yeah. You know, my squad is not doing. So I don't know. Being when you say was it something in the water, I do think your surroundings have a lot to do with your positive outlook on things and how you work and strive for success. Absolutely. I was always made to believe that I could do anything I wanted. I was always made to believe that there are no limits and no boundaries. And so, I don't know, you know, the inspiration took on a different form when I saw people do it, especially people that look like me and of color. And I was like, yo, I can do this, you know. So
that confidence helps. The talent is great, but that confidence kind of pushes you a little bit.
It does, and I had it early, you know what I'm saying? And I think it came from, you know, my upbringing, and it came from being surrounded by people who uplift you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned your wife, right? I know she helps you run your business or runs your business.
Yes, that's my partner in all areas of the word. So absolutely. She started the company. We started it together. You know, she designed the logo, everything. Like she pays us all. She's the CFO. She's the boss, yeah, and so it's been a great partnership.
So when you guys met, did you guys meet off of your love of music?
Yes.
Okay.
I was touring with Vivian Green.
Nice.
And subbing for the bass player that was normally there, another great friend of mine, Adam Johnson. Okay. And she was singing backgrounds with a young lady that I went to college with. So it was like we had this mutual friend. Okay. And I was like, yo, who your friend? You know, she's kind of cute. Right. And I think our love for music, and you know, she was and still is an amazing. My wife is still a songwriter, so I built a little makeshift studio at my parents' house and was looking for writers and just collaborating, similar to what you were saying, learning what the word producer meant. Right. You know what I mean, and knowing that I got these beats, I make beats, but now like how do you turn it into a song? Right. You know what I mean. So we kind of like our love for music definitely, you know, pushed us together, and her foundation and her upbringing, you know, is unmatched, and you know, she's just an amazing woman of God, and she's the glue that holds our family together. You know, awesome mother now, and you know, still the boss, still pays me.
I saw your son playing bass, so I'm like, how can he even hold his bass? First of all, I want to sit next to him. My son is cold. Learn. Yeah, we need to take lessons together. I need to sit by him and be like, hey, we're learning together.
My son, Adam Jr., he got it early. He has it for real. And, you know, I have to nurture it because a lot of things come easy to me now. I don't remember how hard they were then. Right. But it comes easy to him. It comes easy to him. So I'm like...
And he seems like he enjoys it. How old is he?
He does.
He's
like 5.
5?
Yeah,
okay.
He's 5 years old.
Yeah. That's wild because
he's a superstar. I love him.
Some people say, you know, the parent can't force you can't force your kid to do something or else they'll turn away from it. But
I think if you can encourage and steer them. Right. I do. I don't want to say force, but you know, I think there is a way to definitely guide strongly.
Absolutely. I try to do that with my daughter. She loves music.
How old is she?
She's 8.
Okay.
And so I got her a keyboard's in her room. But if I say, hey, go practice, she's like, yeah, no, my. But then I'll hear her in there. Right. She's like, I learned how to play an Anderson .Paak song. Oh, like, wow. Nice. So I'm like, well, let me
And I remember crying when my dad made me go practice. So it's like, right. You know, I don't want to hear it now because I'm like, the turnout is great. Absolutely. No matter what you go through in that struggle, you know, I feel like the outcome is and I'm a testament to that outcome. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So
that's a good tip because I'm like, I don't want to be hard on her. I see her. I recognize her love for music, but she's also kind of like a rebel. So it's kind of like
I think what my mom's guide strongly.
Yeah, even vocally, she's just very knowledgeable. I think just being around me, and I have a lot of friends that are musicians. She picks up. Since she was born, she's just been around. She's been at rehearsals. She's been at concerts,
right.
right beside me. So it's good that you're influencing him in that way.
For sure.
So with your wife, this might be a personal question, but what is y'all's favorite song together?
Together?
What song can y'all rock out to? And this is our song. We gonna throw this on.
Man, I would say Brandy Full Moon album. Anything off of there is a smacker. My wife her ears are so eclectic, so she's put me on like John Mayer back in the day. She's put me on, early like Kim Burrell and stuff like that. So I would definitely say she has the ears to like literally teach me things. So I would say anything Brandy. Her music we listened to together a lot. Focus was our joint for a minute. Okay. Love Best Part.
Yeah.
So those three I would say.
Those are good go-tos.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about Ricky Minor as an MD. So his accolades are, crazy. His resume is crazy. What from him do you pull from or are you inspired by specifically? Because to me, I love your sound, and it doesn't mean just because you're a musical director doesn't mean you have a good sound when it comes to kind of putting together the orchestration. But what from him are you inspired by?
I was inspired by seeing him on television. And him being a bass player and like being the leader. Yeah. At that time, not so much a sound because I was still chasing my own sound.
I was gonna say, so when you figured out what a producer was. When did you figure out what a musical director was, or that you were even capable of?
Yeah, so position? That's a good question. Two separate questions, but that's a good question too. No. So early on, if I really think about it, my dad was the first musical director I saw, even though he was working for himself. And he was a one-man band, but it was like he was the one curating his own set list. Right. He was making the transitions himself because, as like a wedding band guy, it's like you don't want to stop. Exactly. You know what I mean? So I think about it like that. Didn't really know what it was called. I still don't think he would call himself at that time an MD or anything, but just looking at the evolution of what I do now and how it cultivates. Then seeing Amir call out tunes to the Roots while they're playing one song. He's like, yo, we gonna go to, you know what I mean? Next movement next, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's making it up in his head. Not making it up, but he's curating this set list almost like a DJ or almost like a, a table of contents for a show. And then I got into that. But one of the things that people kind of hired me for and continue to hire me for, I did this for a long time, is that I want the artist to be supported properly. Therefore, I would volunteer to hire musicians and get the singers and maybe rehearse the singers and stuff like that. And at that time, 01, 02, I don't know if I knew that was MD work. I was just like, yo, we got to be great. Yeah. We going to play at the local restaurant. I don't care about that. We have to be great. Right. And so people started to trust me. Trust my judgment. Trust my personnel. Trust the people that I hired and brought in. They also started to learn that I wanted what was best for them as an artist. Absolutely. And as an MD, I think that's the first and only job that you really have. There's some young MDs out there, they hit me up all the time and say, yo, what if an artist don't agree with your chord choice or nothing? Like, we can't combat. You're the boss. Yeah. Now, it is my job to bring your vision to life. Absolutely. And infuse, if you ask me, my own creativity musically. But if you're not feeling it, like, what would you want to happen? And so now it's my job to make it happen. So I've always been on that tip. I don't want to fight with the artist musically. I don't want to fight with them creatively. I want them to win because we all win when the artist is shining. Absolutely. So I would say, early in Philly, I was doing that at the local 5 spot and just rehearsing on our own and sometimes even taking my own money, to get people to record things and stuff like that, just to make sure that the artist was comfortable. And that's kind of how I fell into the MD role, by seeing those bits and pieces and elements of different bands and different musicians, infusing that into the structure that I wanted to have, and then also executing it on stage. And that's the main thing too. All the preparation and all that, it felt effortless once we were on stage because we were prepared.
Absolutely.
And that led me to sometimes some people being unavailable to lead, or if I was in a band just as the bass player and the leader had something else or whatever, be like, okay, Adam's in charge. Or they would say, yo, you in charge. If something goes wrong, you know what to do. If the whatever the programming or the computer or the sound or whatever.
You built that trust in people. Like,
I had to,
dependable at that point.
For sure. And I continue to build trust, especially with new artists who may not know the game as far as the live element, the live aspect. So, it's a trust game, man. Being an MD, and being chosen as MD specifically is a trust game. Last year's Super Bowl, I had to do J-Lo and Shakira. So they were two totally different Latina women who were superstars on their own whole fronts, but they trusted me to bring that 14-minute show together for both of them to shine. That's awesome. That's another just example of recent trust that I had to earn. They didn't care about what I did in 2005. They talking about, are you going to make this hot now, 2020?
Right.
So it's about trust, definitely.
So it probably makes it easier as you go too, because as you become more seasoned in the game, like, I doubt a lot of people are really trying to. If it was me, I would be like, hey, whatever you want.
Yeah, it don't always happen like that because these people are successful.
Yeah, that's true.
These people are successful. It's like, they. I have to be honest and say they could do it with me or without me. I'm thankful that the Rihannas and the Justins and it would be different if they did it without me.
You add that.
I appreciate that. It would be different, but they're coming to see J-Lo.
Yeah,
they're coming to see Shakira. They're coming to see Justin. They're coming to see Rihanna. They ain't coming to see me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I know that, number one, I know that.
Right.
And then number two, I want to uplift the artist with my music and my musical bed and my scoring and my composition so that they continue to trust me and we could work for the rest of our lives, So watching Ricky, I just started seeing him on TV everywhere. And I was like, oh, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I could put a band together, not really knowing how much it entailed for television.
Right.
And so he inspired me in that way to see a bass player kind of like be in charge for sure.
So as an MD and as a bass player, do you find that do you go to shows still to watch other people's shows, or do you kind of just like stay away when you're not working?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. It depends. I like quiet time.
Understood.
Now I'm good to show up at a PJ Morton concert.
That's fam though.
That's yeah, but he do something. His music does something to me, and
his daddy is his daddy, so it's like kind of.
So I'm good to show up there, or I go see my homies rock with. I didn't do the last Rihanna tour, so it's like I went to see tour. I went to see Ariana. And Normani. It's some things that like I still want to learn and still want to do, and then I like to see what other people are doing and how they rock, especially the successful people. My friends are all around those circles, and even if I'm not the MD, I'm excited that they're thriving and flourishing. And I like to see how certain things are run. You know what I'm saying? I want to see how it sounds. Like, hey, maybe I can approach sound differently like this in a pop way. I went to see Watch the Throne, and I mean, I know we talking about do I still go, but like I went to see Watch the Throne, and I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. So things like that inspire me. I still kind of go to shows. I think it has to be a special circumstance. And then I love artists that a lot of people don't know, so then I'll go to their shows, but it might be at a jazz club.
Hey, I'm for that too.
Yeah, like I go see Lauren Talese in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
She's like one of the coldest singers ever. Like I love hearing her
You
sing.
gotta put me on.
Yeah, no,
I dig. So I
she
need.
cold, you know.
I
And then
that.
I like to see my homies play, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
Steve McKee and like anytime they all rocking and playing, like I'll try to go support and see that. But as far as like other bigger shows, I think it has to be a special circumstance.
Yeah.
But I do like my quiet time. I do love spending time with my children.
Mm-hmm. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 now.
Dope.
I have Adam Jr. and Adia, my daughter. She's 6 months.
Oh, awesome.
So I don't always get to go out past 8:00. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
And it's like by the time 8:00 hits, and even if they're in bed, it's like, well, now I'm tired.
I'm tired. I'm a little tired. But then also, you know, thankfully, I do music for a living, and I have a lot on my plate at times, multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like if I go out to a show or something like that, I could be working on my own show.
That part,
you know. So that's a catch-22. But I love music still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
well, that makes sense. I mean, if that's what you do, I get that you still have an appreciation for everybody else in it, but like you said, it still works. So if you got to work, that kind of supersedes everything else. So since this is Tia's top 5,
yes,
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick.
All right.
Who are your top 5? Now this could go. Let me know which one's easier. Who are your top 5 either musicians in general, or who are your top 5 bass players?
Oh, this is terrible. This is all not good.
It's great.
I
know you got a lot of friends, so
yeah,
I hope nobody feels that way.
I'm gonna go with overall musicians.
Okay.
All right, ask me again so we can edit.
All right. No, we're not gonna edit. No, but who are your top 5 favorite musicians, instrumentalists?
Instrumentalists. So Jaco Pastorius.
Okay.
Dead or alive?
Let's do alive.
Okay, so then that's different. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't take it easy. Like, well,
yeah,
they're all gone.
Yeah, I was about to say, wow, you know.
Right.
Alive. This is rough.
I know.
I first of all, I just want to say I love everybody.
Of course. Of course.
Okay, so Derek Hodge,
Mm-hmm.
bass player. Brian Fraser Moore is drummer.
Okay.
Omar Edwards, keyboard player.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Winslow, trumpet player.
Mm.
That's 4, right?
Yeah, that's 4.
And I have to say, all right, this is no particular order, but I have to say James Poyser and Questlove for sure have like just permeated my soul for a very long time.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be.
But you love everybody. He loves everybody.
No, I love everybody. It's just that those people, you know, I could hear them, I could listen to them play.
Yeah.
Whatever genre, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like really all day.
Yeah.
All day.
That's awesome.
You know, then we get into like, you know, there's another level that I listen to, you know, on record like the D'Angelo's, Raphael Sadiq.
I was gonna say Raphael is one of my.
Yeah, you know, man, like, yeah, it's just a you know, a different level. I love Gerald Beasley. He's a bass player from Philadelphia.
Have you and Raphael Sadiq ever worked together?
Roundabout, but not really. I love Robert Glasper. You know.
You ever work with Terrace?
I have not worked with Terrace, but I just texted Terrace the other day. Because he was working with Leon Bridges, who's one of the homies.
He was. I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Terrace,
him and Robert.
Yep.
Were in the room.
Terrace is awesome. You know, and then I think about people like Young Guru you know, who's like a producer, programmer, mix engineer, like as a musician. No, he's amazing.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he's very dope. You know, I think about it's just a, you know, it goes on. I think about John Petitucci, who's a famous instrumental jazz bass player and play with Chick Corea and all of that stuff. It's like he's so dope, and it's I don't know, top 5 is rough.
Yeah, it's like when you're in an industry that's like literally full of musicians. You probably run across so many great ones.
I'm missing so many too. I'm just missing so many. You know, like John Mayer is cold. He's cold, like for real.
He performed Them Changes with Thundercat. One time. I think it was for like the Mac Miller tribute.
I played that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow. I watch that all the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow.
That was the Origin band. Backed them up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I watch that all the time, and I'm like, man, those two together was like my dream collaboration happening on stage. My favorite song ever. Yeah, that was it for me. So to switch gears, have you ever heard of synesthesia?
I don't think so.
So it's basically when you hear notes or chords and you see color.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing that for a long time.
I was going to say, do you have, like, because some people don't recognize
you know
what
who
that
taught
is.
me that, or I don't want to say taught, but, like, I learned from them is Jill Scott. Like,
oh, dope.
She used to explain a feeling to me in color.
That's amazing.
And I was like, she's like, it's not like burgundy, it's like yellow.
Right.
And I know instantly. I know what that means. It's
because
like,
to some people it means different things. So like when I think of minor chords, I might go like a deep purple, orange.
Right.
Like when I hear Stevie Wonder and he goes from major to minor, and how he does his changes, I see these warm colors. But then some people see, like, I asked, do you ever heard of Benny Sings?
Yeah.
I asked him. He said he sees like beige and brown.
Oh.
And blue. I was like, huh.
I think it depends on the song.
It depends on the song.
I think it depends on the sonic palette as well. Is it a 70s record? Right. Is it a 90s record? Like, you know, but Jill is one of those, what is that called again?
Synesthesia.
Synesthesia, yeah. Like Jill Scott, you know, who's like super genius, you know, musician, creative, actor, producer, everything. But she definitely explains a lot of things to me in color. Or I'll play a chord and she'll like look up in the sky and like we might sit there for 10 minutes. I'll be like, I used to be like, what is going on? But then like I got it. Like she was trying to find where that color inspiration, the voicing of the chord, like, you know, so synesthesia. I didn't know that.
I always wondered, like, is it just color? Do you see shapes? Like when you hear harmonies,
I think it's
when
everything.
you hear melodies, do you see a shape? Do you see...
I see it all. Melody makes me have a lot of shape as well over harmony, because like something can be jagged, you know what I'm saying? It could be rough, like, you know, it could like not fit a little bit, so it's like a circle fitting into a square, you know, a square, and then colors for sure, you know, for harmony is like a thing, like, you know, also rhythm to me flashes a lot of colors at times too, so yeah, so it's
because I pay attention to your transitions a lot.
Yeah, I want my stuff to sound like where I got all that from, like for real in the beginning was like I wanted to sound like a movie.
Yeah, I
was like, this should sound like Jurassic Park.
It should take you through the emotions of the show. Like it carries you from one emotion to the next. For sure. But you mastered that part.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the part that sticks out.
Yeah, and that came from a lot of listening to pop music early. That I wanted to incorporate into hip hop and R&B. Okay. You know what I mean? So like the NSYNCs and listening to like Kevin Antunes and then, you know, Prince and then trying to infuse a lot of that and then, you know what I mean? So listening to Jimmy and Terry with Janet and stuff like that is like listening to a lot of pop music. Then I was like, I want to take that same character, that same color and like put it in Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Or like put it in Drake. Put it in, you know, so that's kind of like... That's
really the last thing I thought you would say. Because I don't see a lot of depth in pop music. So when you
I think the live element of pop, though, they were like a machine. Like, they never stop. You know, you watch an NSYNC concert, you watch New Edition, you watch...
You're just talking about how it's structured.
Yeah, the structure. Yeah. I was kind of like, you know, even the sounds that they used were super pop sounds. I'm like, what if I did that on top of flashing lights? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, what if I did that on, like, Good Morning, You know what I'm saying? And what if I put those breaks in that they would do a Justin Timberlake dance break? What if I put that in as Ye rapping?
Right.
Without the beat. You know what I mean? So, that's the kind of thing I was thinking about early.
Is there anybody you haven't worked with yet that you would love to work with?
Celine Dion. I really love Celine Dion. Yeah. I want to work directly with Usher.
Okay.
I think he's so good. Yeah, and then there's a new girl that I really like too. Who? Tiana Major 9.
I like Tiana.
Yeah.
I was just talking about her last week.
Tiana's cold. Yeah. Yo. She's cold.
I need to get into her a little bit more and just hear her story because I don't know a lot of her backstory. But I was speaking with Lucky Day and he was talking about, because they just worked on a song for his project. But he was saying, he was like, she's the real deal. Yeah. Tiana's cold. She's like a Jasmine, her, SZA, Snow, like all of that. All of that in one person.
In one, yeah.
She has a nice range. She has an amazing
range. What I like too a lot? I like Kalani. Her music is super ill to me. Yeah. I think me and Kalani like live would do some ill stuff.
I'm sure she would love to hear that. If I heard that as an artist.
And then my last bucket list was Brandy, and so 2020 was the first time that I worked with her, and we just been inseparable musically. So, if you asked me this time last year, I would have said Brandy for sure, but I was able to fulfill that dream all of last year because her schedule opened up a little bit because of the pandemic. We were able to pre-record some things and she could make it happen. So it's been cool. So she did Soul Train. We did this Pandora thing.
I'm a fan of Camper too, DJ Camper.
He's cold. Yeah. DJ Camper is cold. Yeah.
His when I see him even play, like
he got it. He has one of those. He reminds me a lot. Like Rodney Jerkins is my favorite producer. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but for sure. Yeah. And Camper reminds me of him as to where he can make a loop feel like a song. And like
he does.
You know what I'm saying?
He does.
Now
think about it.
It's not just a 4-bar thing. It like literally his loops tell stories. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a song that he did himself called Grip. I always listen to, and I keep telling him, I'm like, I've been listening to this song since it came out, like, I think when the pandemic started almost.
On his record, right?
Yeah. So, like, but I didn't realize it was a loop until you just said that. It literally doesn't change, but it carries the whole way through. You don't even realize.
Like, Rodney used to do that, man, with, like, Michael Jackson and Brandy, and to me, like, all that Rodney Jerkins stuff was, like, cultivated from a loop, but then it just, like, I don't know. It just moved and told a story. So like that's so ill to me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I never really picked that out, but that's a good point. So to wrap things up, it's called "Make Good Music Cool Again."
Yes.
I want to be able to once again spotlight the people that are still putting their hard work and their brains and their hearts and their passion into music, right? Because you can tell the difference between something thrown together and something that's it's special.
I agree.
What do you think that you personally do to make good music cool again? Is that something that's important to you?
It is. I want to get the kids to realize the importance of performance.
Right.
I want to get them to realize the importance of connecting with people. I want to get them to realize the importance of elevation from studio to the stage.
Absolutely.
The pandemic hasn't helped that for us. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of superstar musicians and artists in all genres that have not been on tour last year or not ever done a show or a tour or got on a tour bus. You know what I'm saying? Like I think about somebody like Meg Thee Stallion, who was so ill and so dope. I don't think she's ever been like on a tour of her own. You know what I'm saying? But she's super huge. I think about somebody like DaBaby or Roddy Ricch or something like that, where it's like they haven't had that opportunity. So I think making good music cool again is kind of like letting them know, the stage is also another platform that helps the creative juices flow.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Some of the artists nowadays get caught in studio rat land, which is so dope though, because they can turn out a song. I was with Ant Clemens last week. Yo, this boy is a machine. He is. He was turning out 5 and 6 songs like a day.
Wow.
And so I can't imagine if he and so many other artists of his generation would like do shows like that. And like, what if he did like 6 shows a day, like, or he was like, I'm gonna go to the Staples Center, then I'm gonna go to House of Blues, then I'm gonna go to No Kid, like, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like what we used to do back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Is go jam out, and then those ideas would spiral into songs and spiral into other tours and collaborations and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to hold up the mantle that live music still works. Live music still is a big part of our culture. You know, live music is an inspiration to people, no matter what you might be going through, sad, happy, you know, funny, mad. I like going
to shows and feeling the bass in my chest, like vibrating in my chest.
And then also, you know, as a consumer of music, you remember where you were when you heard that song.
Exactly.
I could turn on Anti Rihanna right now and remember that whole year. You know what I'm saying? I could turn on Full Moon right now from Brandy and remember that whole year.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I could turn on a Roots record, remember, like, yo, moved to Philly and listen to Roots and Jay Dilla, like, I just I remember it all. So, you know, that's an experience that only live can give you. And so I want to continue to try to make that cool.
I will say that I have noticed that, like you mentioned Roddy Ricch, I saw Rants, and basically all of them, they did a Tiny Desk. They've been doing that, like the at-home Tiny Desk concerts. I've been seeing a lot of artists that I would not imagine having live bands use live bands because they have to for Tiny Desk and for these virtual shows. And I that is pleasing to see.
Very much so. 1500 is killing it out there, and they continue as well to hold the mantle up for live music. You know, I commend them and everybody with a band. You know, I just saw Ross had a Tiny Desk.
Yeah,
that was ill. I was watching what other Tiny? I watched
Kirk
Jasmine. I watched who?
Kirk Franklin.
Kirk Franklin, super ill. You know, shout out Sean Martin. I saw Jasmine's Tiny Desk, of course, was super ill. PJ, you know, had the at home Tiny Desk. Like, you know, so many. Alicia's Tiny Desk was great. So it's like platforms like that. It's so interesting that we have to see bigger artists do them for them to be cool. But I think once people get that experience, and like Ross now and Roddy now and people who may not do live now are kind of like, yo, that was ill.
Yeah,
like, let's
keep doing
we got to keep doing that. And so like, let's continue to make it cool like that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, that's really true. So hopefully as it becomes a trend, like that's one thing about quarantine I do appreciate. People have now had to improvise and create those situations,
those outlets.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the next people I want to interview is Bobby Carter. He's the producer of Tiny Desk. Okay. And I've been speaking to him a lot recently, but I'm like, and he's once again just loves music, so I can appreciate people that are doing it not just for the accolades and for the money, but just like
for the love.
Yeah, for the
genuine
love.
love.
Like, you can tell. You can definitely tell in the production and what they produce. But Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, T.
This is amazing. I like. Who would have thought? You probably don't think it's a big of a deal.
Nah, I'm excited to be here. You know, I saw your page. The layout is cool. You got some amazing content on there, and I was like, yeah, I think this is educational. You know what I'm saying? So I commend you. Keep doing your thing, and it's all gonna be great.
Absolutely. I need bass recommendations too.
Done.
I need to get that guitar soon.
All right, cool.
All right, I appreciate it.
No doubt.